What's up, everyone? Hey there, welcome to the show. This is officially my 100th episode of Speak Now Pro Wrestling. Woo! I was gonna go to the store and buy stuff to celebrate, but I ran out of time. So sorry if there's no decorations to celebrate this 100th episode, but just know that I am absolutely over the moon, and I'm so happy that it ended up timing out perfectly with AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, because what a night of professional wrestling we had here today. There's going to be so much to talk about. I can't wait to get into the entire show. This show has been anticipated by the fans since the moment that it was announced. It was hyped up very well. It follows right now a period in AEW wrestling where things feel really hot. We're really just coming off of earlier this month having this amazing, phenomenal pay-per-view with AEW All Out, and then you're following it up essentially with AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, and on top of that, we still have Friday coming up with AEW Rampage. I mean, it is absolutely nuts right now, guys, nuts, and I can't wait to get all of your thoughts on how you guys felt about the show, because again, we had a lot of really good wrestling on the show. We had some interesting crowd reactions, some interesting moments, a phenomenal main event, and so much more to get into. So guys, as you come on into the stream, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to come in here and join this stream. This is a very interactive show, so you guys are more than welcome to send in your thoughts, your comments, your opinions throughout this entire stream, because I will be reading your thoughts. Also, if you guys do send in a super chat, that is how you get your comments read on the air, 100% guaranteed. Also, I almost forgot, and then I'm going to get right into the show. Today, I am also doing my big giveaway. Someone here today is going to essentially get a $100 Shop AEW gift card that is going to be taking place at the end of the show. I am literally going to be doing it raffle style. It took me 40 minutes, but I wrote down every single person's name who entered before the deadline. They are in this Ziploc bag, and their name will be selected before the end of this stream. Alrighty, guys, so we'll close out with that later today, but I'm going to jump into some super chats, and then we're going to go ahead and get into the show and talk about things in a very nice chronological format. So here we go. What's up, Haj Gulashi? Haj Gulashi really keeping in theme here, dude. Thank you so much. Haj Gulashi just sent in a massive super chat. Thank you so much. You have been absolutely very kind to me. But Haj Gulashi says, 100 for 100. Cheers, Denise. Keep kicking ass. You are too good to me. Thank you so much for getting us started in such a massive way. And we got a lot of people in here basically congratulating me on these 100 episodes, guys. We got another super chat from James Barris, who says, Denise, Felician episodios. I loved... Oh, God. James says, I loved Homelander Cody. It was a great way to use the heat against him. American imperialist Cody is great. So I didn't know what people meant by, I had a couple of people in the comments section of my Twitter feed basically saying something about Cody and Homelander. And I was like, what are people talking about? So you all had me Google Homelander from The Boys, the Amazon series. And I get why you guys were commenting it now, but I really did not know where people were getting at with this. But thank you so much to James for making us laugh right off the top. We got a super chat from Shane Johnson, who says, tell Uncle Dave to give Bryan and Kenny 5 stars. So for those of you, you guys obviously know that Bryan Danielson does not have a 5-star match under his repertoire of star ratings. He does not have a 5-star match yet. I am very excited to see what Dave is going to rate this match. We'll see. Will this be his official first 5-star match? Who knows? We'll see. Thank you so much to Shane Johnson for sending in this super chat. We got a very nice, very kind super chat from Reggie Simmons, who says, it's Wednesday night. You know what that means. happy 100th. Thank you so much to Reggie Simmons. I thank you very, very much. And guys, I'm so hyped right now. Like legitimately, I mean, we're coming off this really fun show. And then, on top of that, personal celebrations and all of that. Doug McLeod sends in a super chat saying, I thought the crowd was hot at All Out, but tonight may have topped it. Amazing opening match and great action throughout the night. So as you guys recall, I was at AEW All Out and the crowd was like absolutely bananas. The part that they were most loud for was obviously, the Lucha Brothers winning the tag team titles, but also they were super hyped for the debut of Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson. Obviously, those were massive moments. CM Punk coming into the Chicago audience. However, watching tonight, and keep in mind that I'm watching from my TV screen, and keep in mind that I was in Chicago, I really do think that the New York audience today was a lot hotter. And obviously, this is somebody that this is my perspective from watching from TV versus at an event that I was there live. So I'm just really trying to get over the fact that today's crowd was hot. And I mean hot, especially for that opening match, which we're going to get into in just a moment. And it was absolutely nuts. And I'm talking for when the bell rang. Just the bell ringing from Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega, and people were losing their minds. I mean, it was crazy. And they did keep the energy throughout the entire show. We got another super chat from Mr. EMJ who says, called Omega Bryan Danielson being a time limit draw. If this goes to Full Gear, I like how you're putting Dragonson, will be the first since Ibushi to kick out of the one-winged angel and win the title. Dude, I can't wait to talk more about this match because there's a lot that I want to say in regards to both Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, and the future of both of these guys. So we will get into that in a second. But thank you so much to Mr. EMJ for this very kind super chat. We got another one from Frank Garisales. Thank you so much to Frank, who says, happy 100th episode, Denise. Do you think that Baker keeping the title is best? Part of me wanted Ruby Soho to win the title. That way it elevates another star in the women's division. So I know we're going to get to that match towards the end of the show since it's the main event, but I definitely do agree that Britt Baker was the right call to win this match because yes, people are really behind Ruby Soho. People really love Ruby Soho. She is the most she's the baby face of baby faces out there, okay? And all of that is great. But one of the major things that I have been talking about on this podcast for the last couple of weeks is that we have a very hot champion in Britt Baker. Okay, great. But we need to have challengers for Britt Baker that are getting just as hot as her or can really be these like legitimate, credible opponents to make her title reign even that much bigger because AEW has so much in Britt Baker, and right now she's the star, she's the focus. So Ruby Soho losing to Britt Baker, in my opinion, does not take anything away from Ruby Soho whatsoever, and it definitely adds to Britt Baker, who, let's face it, really needed a challenger like Ruby Soho. And then on top of that, she's in the main event, guys, and I will talk about this more, but just really let this sink in, okay? And I tweeted this out, so some of you guys may have seen this, but legitimately, let it sink in. Ruby Soho as Ruby Riott in WWE. We hardly got to see her. If we did, it was like in the most 1-2 minute matches, etc. You can say that she was severely underutilized on the roster, hardly seen. I remember so many different conversations that I had with people on these streams where they were saying, the Riott Squad should be tag team champions, the Riott Squad should be tag team champions, etc., etc. And it just never, things weren't culminating for her, right? And then she gets released and I'm thinking, oh man, she got released. Okay. Then she signs with the AEW and, it's this big exciting thing. People are really happy for her. All right, cool. But now she just main evented one of AEW's biggest shows in one of the biggest cities in the world against somebody like Britt Baker, who has seriously gotten herself over. So all of those different like factors really add to to Ruby Soho's story. And on top of that, they had this really great story heading into the match. They had some really great back and forth promos. I mean, it's a win-win across the board, man. Even if she didn't win tonight, she still won. I mean, she may have not won the bout, but she still won. So thank you so much to Frank for sending in this super chat. We got another one from Jason Hunter who says, what a show. Kenny versus Bryan, a 5-star match easily. The crowd was so loud for it. And we will break down this match in a second. Jason, thank you so much for sending in this super chat. We have another super chat from Noe Gonzalez who says, as the great philosopher John Oliver once said, wrestling is better than the things you like. Today was this is the thing, is that I know there's people, and this happens all the time, there's people that always say that when wrestling is bad or when something terrible happens, that you have to talk crap about wrestling just so that your podcast can be popular or whatever the case may be. There's always people going out there and saying stuff like that you have to hate things for it to be popular or for your show to be liked, right? That could not be the case. That is like so far, at least from my experience and from the truth, legitimately, whenever we have a successful wrestling show, the people are in a good mood. It leads to more viewerships and more people interacting and just more people overall wanting to talk about wrestling, wanting to be excited about pro wrestling. I remember some of those moments off the top of my head right now. Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, after their match on Dynamite, I still remember everybody absolutely coming on here and just being like in such a good mood. And then on top of that, you had CM Punk's debut on AEW, you have tonight, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other moments that I'm just skipping through right now. But when wrestling is good, the mood is good. We got a super chat from Christopher Marina who says, the crowd was insane and it was just a Dynamite. I think it might be time for Stadium at next year's All Out. So also one of the things that I made sure to say is that they really did leave their mark in terms of Arthur Ashe. They really made sure to say, this is our stadium, our location now. Them running at Arthur Ashe officially and having it be such a success with, I think they said 20,177 people in attendance. Essentially, they made that their home. No other wrestling promotion has ran there. And in a market like New York City, it's pretty symbolic, guys. Pretty symbolic. They really made Arthur Ashe their new New York home. So good stuff there, guys. Oh, we got so much to talk about. We haven't even gotten into the opening match. Diable37 says, needed to call out the time more often than the last 5 minutes. I only remember hearing 1 minute remaining and didn't seem urgent enough. Felicidades. So this is in regards to the time limit match. Excuse me, not the time limit match. Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega, which ended up in a time limit draw. So before this match started, they did make sure to hammer it home on commentary that, they were making sure to let people know that there was a 30-minute time limit. Like, they said it twice. And this was obviously a prediction that very many people had. A lot of people had a feeling that it was going to end in a time limit draw. So I think that if you were surprised that it ended in a time limit draw, I'm surprised that you were surprised, because this was something that like everybody was predicting. And we're going to get into this match a little bit more. But in terms of the times, I only heard it, I think, one time. I heard the ring announcer say, what did he say? What did Justin say? Okay, hold on. He said, I forgot what he said, what time he called. I do not remember what time he called, but it wasn't until commentary said, oh, there's 45 seconds, where I was like, okay, now I know what the time is. But they didn't necessarily do like a 5 minutes, that sort of thing. At least I didn't hear it. Maybe I wasn't paying maybe I didn't notice, but I don't recall them saying it. But we got a super chat from Christian Ramos who said that Andrew Zarian hinted at a TBS women's title coming soon. I did see his tweet as well, so I am curious as to what is going to go down with that. Another super chat from Sports and Wrestling Experience who says Denise World Order for Life. DWO Ryan is oh wait, what? Thank you so much to Sports and Wrestling Experience for the very kind super chat. We got another one from James Barris who says seems like Danielson and Omega timing was off on finish. Great match, seemed a small botch, no ending with one winged angel or label lock tease. All right, so let's get into this in a second. We got a couple more super chats, but I'm going to hold off on those for a second, and I'm going to jump into the opening match here. So we had Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. I was pretty surprised when I realized that this was the match that was kicking off the show. And I think it was definitely the right call because obviously, now we know that they ended up doing this time limit draw. So having this entire time to really enjoy the match and not have it feel rushed whatsoever worked out really great. And when I talk about crowd reactions, guys, I was sitting there thinking to myself, oh my God, the crowd is so hot for this right now. Like, I cannot believe it. Like, there's been so many times, guys, where I'm watching like old wrestling videos, just watching like old stuff. And then like there's all of these massive pops in wrestling, right? And I just remember thinking, man, it's not that often that we still get stuff like that. And then here tonight, that was definitely an example of, yeah, we still do. Look at what we're getting right now. So I was completely blown away by the crowd reaction, completely blown away. The second that bell rang, it went nuts, and they kept it steady for like a really long time because there was like a couple of moments until they actually started getting into the actual match between Kenny and Bryan. They had a moment where they really soaked in the entire crowd and the entire atmosphere here. So now, here's what I want to get at first. So I know that I know that there's people out there that are criticizing AEW for essentially quote unquote giving this match for free and not putting it on a pay-per-view. But here's the thing about that. And I want to make sure to talk about this now because yes, this would have been a fabulous pay-per-view match. We already know that, okay? And who knows, we still might get this match on a pay-per-view, okay? But the one thing that I think people, I don't really feel are really talking about is the fact that, yes, this was a big deal of a match, and yes, it would have been great on a pay-per-view, but here's the but. The but is that Kenny Omega literally has so many different options for these big high-profile matches. And the reason for that is because they have built a lot of people on their roster, or they have a lot of people that have a lot of credibility that it's kind of not like there's so many times where like you can say, oh, there's not enough, opponents or challengers for this champion. Like he doesn't really have that many options for matchups. That is not the case here. That is not the case with the AEW World Championship picture. And when you think about the fact that you still have matches that you can still have with Kenny Omega, and I'm just going to mention a couple of guys, you still have matches that you can have with Kenny Omega, CM Punk, Kenny Omega, MALAKAI Black, Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, Hangman Page, Cody Rhodes. You can still do a rematch with him and Jon Moxley. I mean, Darby Allin. I almost forgot Darby. There are so many different options for Kenny as a champion that essentially, quote unquote, giving this match away for free on a Dynamite does not hurt the championship picture at all. So I do want to make sure to talk about that right off the bat, because it's not like they're giving away the only thing that they have available. They have plenty of other options. And that is why it is important to build more stars on your roster than just, a couple or whatever. Immediately on this match, you can tell that they were going long. The second they started working this match, you knew it was going to do that. You knew they were working for a long match, and you knew that it was going to do the The second they started this match, I was like, yeah, they're definitely going for a time limit draw here. This was brutal. I mean, you just kept seeing both guys go back and forth. Bryan Danielson's chest was literally red from all of the chops back and forth exchange between these two guys. We saw the return of the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. We saw him do the cattle mutilation. He did a Snapdragon suplex. I mean, a lot of really great stuff. We saw a running V-trigger from Kenny Omega. Let's see what else. Right after the running V-trigger, this is what I really liked, is that right after that, we went into commercial break. I actually thought it was a really good way to send us into commercial break, because we got a nice, like maybe 15-ish minutes before they went into commercial break. So we had a really nice, good amount of time to really enjoy this match. So I wouldn't even say that having that commercial break, I didn't think it took away anything at all from the match. Even though they had the picture-in-picture, you guys know that I hate picture-in-picture, it didn't take away from this match here. Now, the other thing that I want to add about this, and I said that, I already said my piece about Kenny Omega and some of the people that I want to see him work against, and all of the potential matchups, the big potential matchups that he still has within AEW. The other thing that I definitely need to add about this is that Bryan Danielson, obviously it's been known, it's been reported that he definitely wants to do stuff with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Obviously right now, given the pandemic and travel issues, etc., all of that, you're eventually gonna see that, right? So instantly I was just like, man, this is not Daniel Bryan. This is Bryan Danielson. We're getting the American Dragon rights now. So just kind of seeing that made me like salivate for him and like all these potential matchups that he can have with New Japan guys. Okada, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Suzuki, Tomohiro Ishii. I even made a joke on Twitter, even Yano. I mean, there are so many, Kota Ibushi, Okada. Did I already say Okada? I don't even know if I said Okada already, but there are so many options for those matchups that I'm just like thinking to myself, holy shit, there are going to be so many different options here. We do see Bryan Danielson at one point counter the one-winged angel with a poison Rana. That was really awesome. We see Kenny hit him with another V-trigger, ends up getting a near fall. We see Kenny Omega hit the Phoenix Splash. They exchange back and forth punches, excuse me. We see a bunch of yes kicks from Bryan Danielson. We see Danielson stomp the living hell out of Kenny Omega, literally pulling his arms and just like stomping on his face with his foot. That was absolutely aggressive, really great stuff there. And again, like many predicted, it ended in a time limit draw. So I thought this was great. And yes, the crowd was booing right after this, but they weren't booing because of the way the match ended. They were booing because the match ended, and everybody wanted to just kind of like keep seeing this match, over a lot longer, obviously. But now with this finish, it obviously makes sense that at some point we're going to get a rematch. I don't know if they're going to do the rematch instantaneously or if they're going to let it breathe for a while and do it in the near future. I do not know. They can easily get into this rematch right away. But one of the things that I also liked is with the time limit draw, when it happened, they didn't immediately like separate from each other. Like, oh, the match is over, let's separate from each other. They didn't do that. They still kept going at it. And then it wasn't until the Elite came out to kind of like, they ended up coming out until you saw them get separated. And then the Bucks ended up super kicking Bryan Danielson. And so then Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy ended up coming out to essentially help even out the odds. And I like that too, because obviously we've already seen all the tension between those guys. So then that adds to that story within itself. So I thought this was really great stuff, guys. So I'm going to jump back into some of your super chats and see what you guys had to say about this match here. Let's see, guys. There's so much to talk about. Like, I did not do this match justice. If by any chance somebody is listening to this post show and did not watch the actual match, I'm pretty sure everyone here did, but legitimately go out of your way to watch this match if you didn't. We got a super chat from Josh Rauzauskas. Josh is a really great supporter. Josh says, Bryan versus Kenny exhausted me watching. I can't imagine how they're feeling right now. What a match. Two professionals, definitely not a stranger to doing these different to doing these long types of matches. Definitely not strangers to it. And what do you know it? My fancy friend Andrew Zarian is in the house. Andrew sends in a super chat and says, Denise, I left the show early so I can tune in. That's a lie. I have a big meeting tomorrow, but wanted to give you guys a scoop if you want one. Andrew, you got a scoop and you're gonna offer it to me right now? Hell yeah, dude. How do you want to do this? Let me know. I hope you haven't left yet because I just saw your super chat and I saw it 15 minutes late. But thank you so much, Andrew. If you're here with a scoop, I will take it on this show. Andrew obviously has a lot of scoops, guys. One of my co-hosts on We're Live Pal on this channel, BTW. So we'll see if Andrew follows up on this. I'm a little behind on the comments, guys. We got another super chat from Mark Shields who says, Ruby just main evented Dynamite in a great match. She is a legit main eventer here, and that by itself is great. I'm so happy for her, so deserved. Thank you, Mark Shields. We got another super chat from Hagen. Didn't send it a message, but thank you so much to Hagen for sending in this super chat, period. Let's see what else we got here. All right, I'm gonna go through. And Andrew was asking what the announced number was. The announced number was 20,177. That is how much they announced for the attendance. We got another super chat from Hagen. Thank you so much to Hagen, who says, Denise South Century, happy 100th episode. Thank you so much, Hagen. I really appreciate that. You guys had no idea. You have no idea how nervous I was to do my first episode. And now, all this time later, it's at 100, And let's see, we got another. Okay, so Andrew Zarian, who was at the show today, sends in a comment saying that the issue with Arthur Ashe is you can't run the venue after October. It's too cold. All right, I was unaware of that. I actually did not know that. Thank you so much to Andrew Zarian for that very fun fact, by the way, because I did not know that. We also got another super chat from Daniel Zambrano, who says, I was so caught up in the match when I heard the announcement, I was like, what the hell? That's the point. They needed to do that. They needed to make you forget that there was a possibility of them essentially running out of time. They wanted you to forget that. So the fact that you forgot, that's a good thing. Daniel continues on to say, and somehow got even more excited. Girlfriend wanted us to come right away to see what you had to say. Feliz Centenario, Denise. Shout out to Daniel's girlfriend as well. What's up, girl? Thank you so much to Daniel for sending in this awesome super chat, BTW. And another super chat from Andrew, who says secondary women's title will be a TBS title. There you go. Andrew Zarian here with the scoop on this show. Secondary women's title will be a TBS title. What? That is insane. All right. Okay, that's exciting. That is very, very exciting. Thank you so much to Andrew Zarian for sharing that on the show here. Really, really good stuff to know. That's exciting. All right. Another super chat from James Stallings, who says, I love that I saw Omega say, I love this shit. Dude, you can tell that they were having the time of their lives. We got another super chat from Keel Robinson, who says, think about how many main eventers AEW have made in 2 years, whilst WWE are struggling to maintain one. # sack the writers. Oh, man, guys. And I really, really do not like to do these WWE, AEW comparisons. I hate to do it. But sometimes you can't help it because one thing will remind you of another thing, and then you can't help but to make those comparisons. But thank you so much to Keel Robinson for sending in that super chat. We have another one from Frank Carizales, who says, when do you think is the very next stadium show for AEW, Revolution or Double or Nothing or another Dynamite in 2022? Need to plan for a wrestling vacation. I do not know. Actually, that would be a fantastic question for Andrew Zarian, who is pretty good at all of the dates and stadiums and venues and all of those announcements, BTW. But I think right now, given the momentum that they have from CM Punk's return, from the fact that they got Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, that they had the AEW All Out show, the success from this show, and then we're going to be talking about them again on Friday. So it's like, based off all of that, I would feel confident. If I'm Tony Khan, I would definitely feel confident in, going out there and, trying to sell another stadium show in a different city. Obviously, New York is New York, so New York is a strong market, but still, please BTW, Tony Khan, or people of AEW, if you are watching the show, I'm sending you out some vibes, okay? And the vibes are, please come to California, Southern California, not Northern California, Southern California, because that's where I live. And I'm tired of traveling. Come to me. Come to me. We want you here in Los Angeles. Thank you so much to Frank for sending in this super chat. We have another one from Mr. EMJ who says Danielson even did the Regalplex. Nice. Dude, man, he was on fire. Another super chat from Heel Bub says the ones complaining that they gave Omega versus Danielson are probably the ones who were happy to see the New Day versus Bloodline on Raw. The show was amazing. And see, that's my point. Earlier, I said that with Kenny Omega, you have all of these options, right? For these other big matches that you can do. You can't really say that. And I love Roman Reigns as a champion, but you can't really say that there are as many options for potential challengers as there are for Kenny Omega. And that's not, I don't want that to necessarily be a diss because you guys know that I'm a fan, but it is very obvious that there is more options for Kenny Omega's future challengers than there are for Roman Reigns, which sucks because Roman Reigns is currently doing some of the best work that he's ever done. And he's one of my favorite champions and one of my favorite people right now on WWE. So it does suck that they do not have all of these potential big matches lined up for him. And so giving away the Bloodline and the New Day on Raw hits a little bit stronger than giving away Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. So I hate to make the comparisons, but Heel Bubs brought it up. Let's just blame Heel Bubs. Just kidding. Thank you so much to Heel Bubs for sending in that super chat. I did want to, that was something that I immediately thought of when I was, preparing for the show and preparing to bring up that point. Justin Martin, thank you so much to Justin who says, Dynamite tonight was a wonderful birthday gift for me. Happy birthday, dude. Justin Martin says, thank you, AEW, for reminding me why I love wrestling. Congrats, Denise, on show number 100. Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate you always coming into the streams, and happy birthday, man. Happy birthday. And let me go through a couple more comments, guys. I'm sorry I'm behind on the comments, guys. My notes for that Kenny Omega Bryan Danielson match were pretty much a page long, so I wanted to make sure I got all of those, which backed me up here on the comments. But we got another super chat from Leonard Aarons III, who says AEW MSG 2022 collision course, also 100 shows deep. Here's to 100 more. Thank you so much, dude. Honestly, I know that Madison Square Garden obviously is the world's most famous arena and has this prestige. I kind of like if they just keep doing the Arthur Ashe show at the Arthur Ashe location, because it's like I said earlier, it's their home now. They essentially they were like a little doggy peeing on the fire hydrant. They marked its territory, bro. They marked their territory there. And that's awesome. I think having, your home venue, I only see positives to that. CT sends in a super chat saying, thanks for great meme content on Twitter. Thanks also for retweeting mine at NoStyleCT. This was a great show. AEW is on such another level. Yeah, they are on another level right now. They got to ride that wave, guys. Ride that wave. Do not they have momentum. You got to ride that wave, man. That's all I got to say about that. And all right, cool. I'm caught up with the comments, everybody. Fantastic. A question the Mark says, yeah, screw MSG. I like MSG. I'm a mark for MSG. When I went to MSG, when I went to Madison Square Garden, bro, I went for the Ring of Honor New Japan show. Oh, I was marking out because that's the first and only show that I have ever attended in Madison Square Garden. When I was there, I just remember sitting there going, oh my God, I'm watching a show in the world's most famous arena. And I felt like such a nerd, but it's come on, everybody knows Madison Square Garden. Keel Robinson sends in a super chat saying, was Cody's ring gear tribute to Homelander from The Boys? Insight into his character, maybe. I told you guys I had to Google Homelander. I didn't even know who he was, but thank you so much for sending in the super chat. But let's move on, everybody, because we still got so much more to talk about. We've literally only discussed one match. Holy shoes. All right. CM Punk's live promo. Here we go. So CM Punk comes out, and based on my Twitter feed, there were some people that were not happy about some of the things that CM Punk said. Surprise, surprise, right? Surprise. Not really. CM Punk came out and he is essentially, basically saying that he's glad he doesn't have to wrestle on the show because having to follow Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson is pretty much insane, right? And hard to do. He then basically says that he has been, he says, this is what essentially pissed off some people, is that he said that it's been a long time since there has been professional wrestling in New York City. So one of the things that CM Punk has been casually mentioning on his promos is the whole thing about WWE being sports entertainment. And he hasn't directly said, oh, they're sports. He hasn't said WWE is sports entertainment. He hasn't said it, right? Like, directly, no, but he's insinuated it with a lot of his previous comments on his previous promos. Okay. So essentially, he did so again today. And a lot of people that I saw, it's the same argument, guys. It's the same thing, the same argument where some people are over the jabs and there's people that love it and there's some people that are indifferent. So it's pretty much the same thing when it comes to that. One of the things that I do want to talk about here too is that after this, he goes on to basically talk about Team Taz, because now he's in a program with, Team Taz and, those guys, and he has this match with Powerhouse Hobbs coming up. So he basically says that, that there are guys that do not want him to enjoy wrestling. They do not want to see him happy, etc. And that it's been so long that he's really needed it and needed what he's experiencing right now. And he's not essentially going to let anybody ruin it for him. He's not going to let anybody take away from this, from him. And then he says that he's going to put Powerhouse Hobbs to sleep. So the couple of things that I want to get at here, there's a couple things that I want to touch on. And first, when it comes to CM Punk's promo, I got to say that I kind of felt like we were getting this new type of energy from CM Punk. A lot of his promos that he's had since coming into AEW, I think the delivery of it has sort of been on the same page, right? But today he came in with this new aggression, this new intensity that we haven't necessarily heard from him in his recent AEW promo work. So I noticed that instantaneously. He had a lot of about him. And that's the best way that I can describe this. So then here's the other thing that I want to get at. So immediately when CM Punk first debuted into AEW, he started putting over the young talent. The young talent, he's mentioned them so many times. I mean, the first line out of his mouth was essentially putting over Britt Baker and the crowd reactions that she gets. So the fact that he's now in this program with Team Taz, which is essentially, a bunch of young guys. You got Hook, you got Ricky Starks, you got Powerhouse Hobbs, who again, he's going to be in this match with. Focusing in on Hobbs, I want to make a point here. And my point here is that shows like Dark and Dark Elevation are essentially part of the reason as to why Powerhouse Hobbs being in this match feels like an even bigger deal. So I'm going to explain that a little bit. Hobbs is not necessarily somebody that we have been seeing every single week on Dynamite. Yeah, he's there every couple of weeks, whatever, right? But he's not somebody we see each and every single time. However, they have been keeping him strong on Dark and Dark Elevation. He's been getting his wins there. And so by doing that, by keeping him essentially strong on that show, not only does it keep him as a talent strong, but B, it basically tells the people that, yeah, these shows may not be, on the level of Dynamite, but they still matter. These shows still matter. The talent that we have on here still matters. The wins that the talent are getting on here still matters. And even if you do not get to watch these shows, just knowing the fact that you actually have guys getting wins and then having it mean something on Dynamite, which is their flagship show, goes a long way. So I wanted to get that point across, because if it wasn't for that and wasn't for them building up Powerhouse Hobbs on those shows, it wouldn't necessarily mean as much. Now, the other thing that I do want to talk about too is that even Powerhouse Hobbs is in a really good spot right now. He is literally he's working a match with one of the guys that has been, with somebody like CM Punk, who has been constantly talked about for years, has so much history, had so much hype coming into AEW, and means a lot to the promotion. Having him in the spot with AEW, with CM Punk, having him in the spot with him, even if he were to come out and have a 2-minute match, hell, even if he were to have like a 30-second squash, whatever the hell it could be, he is literally going to win just by being in this match with CM Punk, period, and being in this program with CM Punk, even if he doesn't win the actual physical match. And nobody's expecting Powerhouse Hobbs to actually defeat CM Punk. Like, nobody's expecting that, right? It doesn't matter. What matters is that they're making him actually mean something right now on this show. So I did want to make sure to obviously make a note of that. So let's see what you guys are saying here. We got a super chat from Sebastian Mikulik, who says, can a guy get a 60-minute Iron Man Kenny versus Bryan match after Hangman takes the belt at Full Gear? Dude, so that's another thing. I was expecting to see Hangman Page here tonight on Dynamite. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know what to say. I was expecting to see Hangman Page return today. It was kind of a little of I don't know. I was just expecting it to happen, and it didn't happen. So I don't know when it is going to happen. Obviously, they're taping Rampage, but we'll see. I don't know. Obviously, it'll get out if he does return on Rampage. And I don't know if they want to necessarily do that. So they probably would have had him return on Dynamite. But we'll see. We got a super chat from Bebe, who says, how do you feel about CM Punk mentioning heel Punk might pop up one day? He did mention this a lot during his promo, basically saying that people don't the Team Taz didn't want to see him happy, et cetera, et cetera. I don't mind this. I do not mind this whatsoever, because I did think that coming into the promotion, he had to be a babyface. That was the natural thing. If he would have came in as a heel and cut a You People promo, it would not have worked whatsoever. So he's coming in as a babyface, and him coming in as a babyface was the right way to go. But that doesn't mean that he can't eventually, transition into, a heel character. I would not be opposed to that. Thank you so much to Bebe for sending in the super chat. We got another one from Heel Bubs, who says, can you be mad at Punk for calling WWE sports entertainment when they do that all the time and even ban the words wrestler wrestling? That's the thing, though, is that it doesn't, here's the thing, that when it comes to arguments between fans, and pretty much when it comes to arguments of any type, I think people tend to I don't know. I think sometimes people tend to ignore even things that you can say are facts. People tend to ignore them. And yes, WWE does call themselves sports entertainment. And the thing is that people are still going to get mad, even if themselves are calling themselves sports entertainment. You can embrace it, right? But instead, it's obviously taken as an insult. So that's what that is. But thank you so much to Heel Bubs for sending in a super chat. And we're going to keep going, guys. Oh my gosh, we got so much to catch up on here. Let's see what else we got. We got another super chat from Joshua Falco, who says, I think Dark Order get a segment next week. And then when he returns, since it's the Rochester show, that's right, they are in Rochester for Dynamite next week. Another super chat from Dark Talk, who says, I feel Hangman will show up next week. This week is a pay-per-view week. They'll set up new stories next week, maybe even another return. And that's the thing too, is that I'm not disappointed at all that we didn't see Hangman Page today. And that's not to take away from Hangman Page, but rather I do not mind them spacing out these, big returns, these surprises and all of that stuff. I do not mind there being space in between those things, because it just kind of keeps you, invested, it keeps you going. You don't have to essentially do everything all at once. And they had more than enough on this show where they didn't need to do this big return for Hangman Page. They didn't necessarily need it. So if he still, needs to take the time off, perfectly fine. You can do it on another show. Like a couple of people are saying that we might see him, in the Rochester show, or who knows, the show after that. We don't know. Another super chat from Daniel Zambrano, who says, when they advertise the upcoming show in Virginia on the dark shows, the graphic has Adam Page on it. Food for thought. I did not see that. So thank you for pointing that out, because I did not see that at all. So thank you so much to Daniel for sending in that fun fact here. All right, guys. And yeah, we got a lot of people here basically saying they think that we might be seeing him next week. And the Cooge97 says, AEW slow burning all of us on storylines. They leave us wanting more. I had somebody on Twitter, which I thought was pretty funny. I don't know if this person's watching the show, but they made me laugh on Twitter because somebody tweeted me saying that they compared Tony Khan to a drug dealer, but not like in the way that you might think. They compared Tony Khan to a drug dealer in the sense that he gives you a tease and leaves you wanting more. I thought it was hilarious. I'd never put that comparison together, but somebody tweeted that to me and it made me laugh. So whoever wrote that, thank you for making me ha for a couple of seconds on Twitter. I appreciate it. All right, guys, we still got plenty more to talk about. We still got our giveaway. So let's jump into this next match, which is MJF versus BRYAN Pillman Jr. So for those of you who have been watching my AEW Dynamite coverage each and every single week, ever since they started this whole storyline with MJF and BRYAN Pillman Jr., this has been one of the stories that I have been absolutely like obsessed with. All right. You can go back and watch some of my old reviews, and I've literally been putting over this story every single week. Okay. I've been obsessed with it. All right. I've already said why, but going into this show, aside from Bryan and Kenny, this was the match that I was looking forward to, literally just because of the story that they have been telling. MJF has been doing, like, every time I think that MJF can't become a bigger heel, every time I think that MJF can't piss us off even a little bit more, he ends up crossing every week he crosses a new line. He keeps pissing us off even more. So MJF essentially has just been like the ultimate heel, all right? And then you have BRYAN Pillman Jr., who is, again, we just got the Dark Side of the Ring episode with his dad, and, he's obviously in it, talking about his childhood and, how he grew up, et cetera, et cetera. So to kind of have that, and then to kind of see what they've been doing with him and MJF, having his family get involved and incorporating what you saw from Dark Side of the Ring into the actual storyline on AEW, I've been liking what they've been doing with that. I really have. And here's my favorite thing about this is that right at the top of this match, you have MJF going in for a handshake. He wants to shake his hand. Obviously, given all of the things that he said about his family, all of the, BS that he put him through on Dynamite, etc., he wasn't going to go in and shake his hand. No, they weren't going to go in and start with a lockup. They weren't going to do any of that. Immediately, BRYAN Pillman Jr. just goes and takes him down and literally starts punching him. And I was like, hell yeah, because you guys know that I absolutely hate when there's a feud between two guys who absolutely hate each other, and then they go into this match and they start with a lockup. I hate that. So every time that doesn't happen, I'm like, yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for making sense. So they obviously, did not start with the lockup whatsoever. BRYAN Pillman Jr. is pissed off. He goes into the attack on MJF. And I love this because you see this throughout the rest of the match. You see the crowd just absolutely gets behind BRYAN Pillman Jr. You see him slap the hell out of MJF. MJF's doing his best heel work, essentially, begging him not to, etc. And then, afterwards, we see Julia get involved. She gets involved on the outside. She ends up slapping MJF. That was fun to see. And in the end, we do see MJF get the win here. And I was a little bummed out when BRYAN Pillman Jr. lost, because I was like, dang, I really felt that he needed to get revenge for all the, the stuff that MJF said about him, his dad, his family, etc. But so I was bummed when he lost, but then I started to think, all right, obviously, MJF is on another level on the roster. They're not going to have him lose to BRYAN Pillman Jr. It's just not his time yet. So I was bummed, but now this story can, come back later on in the future. Once BRYAN Pillman Jr. just keeps climbing those ranks on that roster and he just keeps growing bigger and bigger, I do think that this is something that they can always come back to, because at some point he's gonna have to get his revenge on MJF. And then also, one of the things that I also put out on Twitter, and I want to talk about it here on the show, and I know this is really an early prediction, but obviously they announced that they're going to, Owen Hart's legacy is essentially going to be honored via AEW. AEW is essentially going to be putting out merchandise and, all of this stuff, including him in video games, etc. But they're also going to be doing a tournament where somebody is going to win the Owen. And we don't really have any details yet on really the tournament other than that. But I was just like, dude, putting this out there early, so I'm manifesting this already. But I really do think that having somebody like Brian Pillman Jr. essentially winning the Owen would be fantastic. So I'm making an early prediction so that if it happens, I can be like, yeah, I thought of that. But anyways, no, I really like this. And I also liked, here's the other thing, because this was a match that I was really looking forward to. I liked the fact that they didn't have this match immediately after Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson, because after that, we had the CM Punk promo, and then we got into this match. So it didn't feel like this match was going to essentially be affected by the great match that we saw earlier. I felt that there was plenty of time in between those two matches for people to really get involved, to really essentially get to enjoy this match. But all right, let's go ahead and move on, guys. We got a super chat from James Barris who says, I'm a huge Hangman stan and can't wait until he returns. Tells us what the new arrivals. Orale, Hangman, can't wait for the huge Ghost Town Triumph pop. Whenever he does come back, it is going to be a massive, massive pop. We have a comment from Andrew Cook who says, very good match and elevated Pillman Jr., but I was waiting for something to happen with Wardlow or someone else to come out and set up MJF's next feud. Thank you so much for sending this in, because so was I. I was thinking to myself, okay, so we know that they've been teasing MJF Wardlow, right, for a while, but there wasn't anything that necessarily happened today that I would say, okay, well, now we're officially getting into this Wardlow MJF thing. They've been planting the seeds for it for the last couple of weeks, but there wasn't like necessarily a moment where you can say, all right, this is officially happening, or okay, this is MJF's next feud. There wasn't that moment. It felt very like, okay, well, what's next for MJF? If you were to tell me, Denise, what's next for MJF? I'd be like, I don't know. I thought it was going to be Wardlow. Right now, I do not know. Maybe we'll get to that next week. I'm sure we will. But today it felt very closed, open and closed, you know? That's it. So yeah, I do kind of agree with Andrew Cook on this match as well. And let's see what else we got here. We got so many different comments. This one's from Drew Scott, who says, there was obviously no reason Pillman should have won this match. MJF is on a different level right now. It's world championship or bust for MJF. And Double Within says they need to pull the trigger on Wardlow turn. And yep, I agree with that too. Either that, well, because they've been planting the seeds. If they hadn't been planting the seeds, then obviously you don't have to rush that. But when you are having the seeds being planted, I think a lot of people were definitely expecting it to somehow culminate tonight. I think it was last week. We actually had somebody on here on the chat who was basically saying that their prediction was that MJF was going to be like, I don't know, maybe like brutally attacking Brian Pillman Jr. Or maybe he was at some point going to go too far with this Brian Pillman Jr. feud, that Wardlow was somehow going to be like, WTF, dude, what the hell's going on? That he was going to really piss him off. And I really like that idea. Once that was like put out there, I started to think, you know what? That's a really good idea to kind of like finally like have it be that last straw where like Wardlow's like, I'm done with MJF. I'm officially done with all of his shenanigans, done. So that would have been something cool, but obviously that didn't seem to happen here tonight. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on. All right, before we're about to get into this Cody Rhodes MALAKAI Black match, before we get into that, I just want to remind you guys all, if you haven't already, make sure to follow me on Twitter at _Denise Salcedo. I'm trying to get to 40K. So if you guys haven't followed me and you're enjoying this post show, feel free to follow me. It would be really, really nice. So make sure you guys do that. Also, I will be back this Friday to talk about 4 hours of wrestling on 1 hour show. I'm going to be covering both WWE SmackDown, and I'm also going to be doing, we're going to have 2 hours of Rampage. So I'm obviously going to be talking about 2 hours of Rampage. So we're going to get the best of both worlds into one show. It's going to be fantastic. All right, and let's get into Cody versus MALAKAI Black. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this match, because earlier on the stream, I said we had some interesting crowd reactions. And I don't know if maybe some of you guys are probably like, no, Denise, it wasn't interesting. It was expected. I don't know. It was interesting to me, at least. So we have Cody Rhodes come out, and I don't think he was necessarily booed when he came out. Like he was just, I don't remember, I didn't really notice like the crowd reaction for Cody when he came out. But then Brandy Rhodes came back, right? She got a nice little reaction. Great, cool. Then this match got started, right? And then like this match is going on, right? And there's a moment where Brandy Rhodes gets involved while Malachi Black is doing his, like, you know, when he sits down in the ring. And then she gets in there and she sits down in the ring and then she essentially flips him off and, you know, tells him to, you know, go F himself, etc. Right? And then she gets out of the match and then they continue this. I don't know, but to me, it felt like after that spot, the people really, really started booing the hell out of Cody Rhodes during this. Like everything afterwards, everything Cody did, it was just like boos, boos, boos. The people were not having it whatsoever with Cody. And based on a couple of comments that I got on Twitter, there were some people that were like, oh, we didn't like Brandy intervening. Like that kind of took away from the match. There was other people saying that, you know, he's too like, essentially doing the same thing, too formulaic. There is people just basically blaming the city. There was people basically saying that it's because Malachi Black is the one that's over. I mean, there were so many different opinions and analysis on the booing of Cody Rhodes. But essentially, the reason why I'm talking about this is because Cody Rhodes is supposed to be a babyface. Cody Rhodes is supposed to be that babyface getting his revenge on Malachi Black. And that's not what came across whatsoever during this match. Like, to me, that was like what I thought was the intention of this match. But that was not what came through because he was just getting booed. I mean, left and right here. This was an okay match. I don't think it was the best match of the night. It had some nice moments. I did like when Malachi Black hit him with the black mass and essentially took him out. And he was essentially like knocked out, you know, on the outside of the ring, and Malachi Black was trying to lift him, but, you know, he was essentially dead weight and he was almost going to get counted out. I did like that portion of the match. We see Cody attack the left leg of Malachi Black at one point, and then towards the end, we do see, for the finish, we essentially see Malachi Black spit out like this black mist, rolls him up and gets the win. So and he got a massive reaction, by the way. Malachi Black, when he won this match, the people loved it. But I didn't think this match was necessarily all that great. Like, it was what it was. I was more so interested in how the crowd was responding and reacting to Cody Rhodes. So thoughts on this, guys? Let's see what you guys are all saying here. Let's see. I'm going to go through a couple of these comments here. Carney Business says, this heel turn, if it's happening, feels like it has been a long time coming ever since Cody lost the MJF feud and got that tattoo. So I think it was, I think it was the media call before Homecoming, if I'm correct, where Cody basically said that he does not want to do, like, he doesn't want to be a heel. Like, he doesn't want to do that. Like, he said he doesn't want to do that. But it feels like that's the natural reaction to him. So it feels like that's what he should be doing, right? But I don't think he has any interest in doing that right now. So we'll see. We got Wrestle Wars saying that Black is just over. He should just be a heelish baby face. Andrew Cook says Cody was booed more and more as the match went on. I think he might have adjusted to lean into people wanting to boo him, but I was so happy that he lost because people didn't want to see him win. Let's see what else we got here. And I'm going to go through a couple more comments. This one's from Marco Zavala, who says that the boos came from the start. It had nothing to do with Brandy. It was pretty obvious. Cody even acknowledged the boos before Brandy's spot. I started noticing it afterwards, to be honest. I didn't boo. I didn't notice it like right off the bat. But Corey Conway also notes that he got booed right at the entrance. So clearly, he was getting booed right from the start, but you definitely did see that progression as it went on. We got a super chat from Mr. EMJ who says, Cody heel turn. Crowd doesn't like him coming back and getting the win. Have him be the Jake Roberts of AEW, the one you beat to get the title shot. Interesting. Thank you so much to Mr. EMJ for sending in this super chat. This one's from the Cooge97 who says, Brandy's double bird flips and saying F you to Black was great in my opinion. Family is family. That is family for you. Everybody can relate to that. Yeah, I didn't hate it. Honestly, like, I know a lot of people, you know, they say what they say online, right? But I did not hate Brandy Rhodes essentially coming in and having this moment. I didn't hate it. Like, she came out, she returned. Given that it was her return, I did not mind her getting involved and essentially having a moment during this match because it was her return. All right. So I did not mind that, but obviously not everybody's going to feel the exact same way, which is perfectly fine because everybody is allowed to have their own opinions. Let's see what else we got here. And this one's from Nicholas, who says the match was good, but the lack of buildup on Cody's part doesn't help the storytelling for his matches. Black being silent does more. Alrighty. And this is from Jeff Decker, who says Cody is kind of a natural heel. He has good lead in with this crowd reaction if that's the way he goes. Yeah, everybody's basically saying like the natural direction, it feels the natural direction for him is to be a heel, but obviously, like, you know, they seem to be pushing against that. And yeah, pretty much everybody agrees that Cody is much better as a heel. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move on. So after this, we had FTR versus Sting and Darby. So Sting comes out. He has like different face paint, more Darby-esque face paint. He gets in there. Sting is freaking awesome. Like, I was there for Double or Nothing, and he literally brought the crowd back, guys. Like, that day, I will never forget how much that Cody Rhodes Anthony Ogogo match killed the crowd, and they did not come back until Sting brought everybody back. So I'm always gonna remember that, always. But anyways, so he gets in there, he's throwing punches, slams both members of FTR. Darby goes for the coffin drop, but the FTR members catch him, smash him into the ring. We see Sting do a crossbody on Dax. We see Darby, for the finish, we see Darby essentially go for the coffin drop. He does so on the edge of the ring apron, which you guys know, it's like you really gotta like match it up perfectly because it's such a dangerous portion of the ring. So he goes in there, he does a coffin drop, and then Sting locks in the Scorpion Deathlock on Dax and gets the win. Another fun match, guys. This match was exactly what I expected it to be, and I thought it was perfectly fine. Alrighty, and yes, I need to add this. This is from Wrestle War. So I tweeted this out, and I was just like, dang, bro. Okay, so Sting is 62 years old, guys, and he moves like he's, I don't know, 40, 30, I wouldn't say 30, maybe like 40, 45, I don't know. I mean, he's not moving like you would think a 62-year-old would move. So man, kudos to Sting, man. It's astonishing. It really is. It really is crazy. Our Rig says Darby sacrificing himself for the win. That bump was insane. Ultimate Bulldog says the apron coffin drop looked painful for Darby. And we got Carney Business saying that he loved the finish. The coffin drop was sick. Justin Martin says this match was a ton of fun. And the finish sequence was brilliantly creative. Sting is amazing, 35 years in, and he's still relevant and exciting. Lenny Banner says he tweeted that Sting is 62 going on 32. Hell yeah. It's crazy. We got a super chat from Christopher Marina who says, I got to give a shout out to FTR. They know how to get heat and always make their opponent look good. Yeah, FTR is definitely, they're solid. They're established on AEW. All is good. Sean Harrington says, I love Sting tonight. He was on fire. Kudos to FTR, though, for those two sweet NWO-inspired gear and making Darby and Sting look like pure gold. All right, guys, here we go. It is now time for the main event. And then immediately following, after we talk about the main event, I am going to be doing my giveaway, everybody. So one lucky person today is going to go home with $100 of shop. Well, they're going to go home with a Shop AEW gift card valued at $100. So one lucky person, I think there's about over 250 names on here, and I literally hand wrote them and cut them all myself. But they're all in here, and one lucky person is going to be selected at random, and we're going to be doing that after the main event. So that's going to be really fun. Just a nice way to say thank you for 100 episodes. All right, guys, here we go. Main event time. First and foremost, I gotta put over the fact that I'm so happy that they made this the main event. A lot of people, I think, were expecting it to be Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. I'm glad that they kicked off the show with this match. As I said earlier, I like that the time, the timing and everything, it all worked out. It didn't feel rushed whatsoever. And it kind of felt like a safer idea to obviously have them go right at the top. So I'm so happy that they decided to close off the show with the AEW Women's Championship match. And I kind of already said what I needed to say about Ruby and essentially her going from being like, I don't want to say like a nobody like in WWE, but being shown on TV very, very little to essentially main eventing this big show in this big city. I kind of already said all I needed to say about that. But seriously, may we all have the growth, the change in our life like Ruby Soho, because man, things have definitely changed in her life, and it's very, very exciting to see. This match itself was pretty fun. We had a lot of really good moments. We had a swinging neck breaker from BRITT to Ruby on the outside. We saw BRITT do an avalanche air raid crash from BRITT to Ruby, which was absolutely sick. We saw BRITT essentially stomping Ruby Soho on the steel steps and then on the mat as well. We see BRITT start arguing with Aubrey. Ruby uses this distraction to roll her up, but she ends up getting a 2 count. And then both Jamie Hayter and Rebel end up getting involved. They distract the referee, but in the end, BRITT is able to get the lockjaw in, and Ruby taps out. So I don't think that, I know a lot of people really wanted Ruby Soho to win, but in my opinion, going into this match, I was expecting Britt Baker to win. I wasn't expecting a title change whatsoever. There was a moment of doubt in myself when I realized that this was the main event. I thought, man, maybe they are going to give it to Ruby Soho, which wouldn't be a problem, but I really just think that they have so much going for Britt Baker right now that you don't necessarily want to kill her momentum either. And they have a possibility to essentially have one of their strongest champions in Britt Baker. So I feel like I kind of already said all of that, but I just want to touch on the fact that it really was the right call to have Britt Baker win. She needs opponents like Ruby Soho, and I'm so thankful that the timing and everything that went down essentially allowed for Ruby Soho to end up going to AEW, having all of this momentum from the fans, really being behind her, really being happy for her, seeing her go into this match with Britt Baker, and like I said, main event on one of their biggest shows ever. It's absolutely crazy to see. But anyways, good call for them to have this the main event. Good call to have Britt Baker win. Any thoughts that you guys had on this match that I do want to go ahead and add? And, here's the other thing that I do want to add. I almost forgot this. Here's the other thing is that I liked that this did not feel, because I know sometimes people say like, oh, this is too forced or whatever. This did not feel forced whatsoever. Like having Ruby Soho in this position does not feel forced at all. Like they have legitimately been doing great storytelling leading up to this match. All of their back and forth that they've been having, especially the one that they just had at AEW Rampage, given like all that they've done in like a short amount of time leading up to this match, I thought was great. And let's see what else we got here. This one is from Leisha Thorne, who says, AEW doesn't hotshot belts that often. I expect Thunder Rosa will be the one to take it down the line. I do think so. I mean, I definitely know that whenever they do Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, it has to be on a big stage. It just has to be. Jeff Decker says, I love the fact that the ladies were the main event. To see how far both the amazing competitors have come is so rewarding and awesome to see. The women's division improved leaps and bounds. They did. And there was there was a lot of people on social media really calling out AEW on that for a while. A lot of people were not afraid to, go out there and say, you need to do more with the women's division. And they listened and they did. We started to see a big shift in the women's division. So I'm glad that things have gotten so much better, so much better. This is a comment from Leroy Lives, who says, I'm so happy a women's match was not just filler with in-camera commercials. Yeah, it's like, it shouldn't be like, here's the thing. It shouldn't be like, and oh my God, like this should not be the reaction. Oh my God, we're going to have women main event. Like, oh my God, that should not be the reaction. It should be a norm now. Like it should really be a norm. Like obviously there's still going to be prestige to that because there's been way more men's main events than women's. That's just the way that is. But it needs to be a norm now. And that's what I like, because when they announced that this match was going to be the main event, I was kind of like, all right, cool. It didn't feel like, oh my God, shocking. No, it felt more normal. And the reason for that is it's not the first time that they've done it, and also WWE has been doing it a lot. And just comparing those two companies, it should be considered more of a norm. And I feel like we're making our way towards that direction, which is what I personally want to see here. We got a lot of people basically. Let's see what else we got here. This one's from Pomi Wrestling, who says, pleasantly surprised the women's title match main event at the show. I understand why Omega and Danielson opened the show, but they could have easily closed with Cody or Sting's match, but chose not to. No, I think they definitely went the right way and did it with with the women, definitely. And you want to have that bout mean something. It shouldn't mean less just because it's a woman's bout. It should not mean less. So having them and that bout in the main event, that's the way to go. And let's see what else we got here. This was from Tunol, who says, when they announced that Ruby versus Britt was the main event, it got me thinking that Ruby might win the title to end the show on a happy note. Anywhere else in the show, I would not have thought so. Yep, same thing. I thought for a second that she might win just because it was essentially in the main event. But no, they did not. Let's see what else we got here. This is a comment from Frank, who says that the match was fine. The interference was lame. Yeah, they didn't really need the interference, but it happened. It was bound to happen. Obviously, Britt Baker's a heel. She has her girls there, Rebel and Jamie. So I didn't hate it too much. It was fine. Let's see. And all right, I'm going to go through a couple more comments. This one's from Russell War, who says they didn't want to beat Soho clean so quickly. Ultimate Bulldog says they loved how they made Ruby look. Lenny Banner says match was solid. Soho was great in defeat. Help for Britt kept her from getting beat, which is what they're there to do. And we got more people saying that they believe Thunder Rosa is next in line to become the women's champion after AEW, after Britt Baker. And we got a super chat from Mr. EMJ, who says, have Baker, Ruby, Chris, and Riho at Full Gear. Baker retains and have her lose the title to Rosa in the spring bash at the beach at the latest. See, I don't mind having Britt Baker. See, I've said this a million times, but I am here for long title reigns. I don't feel like they have to rush to get the championship bout on Thunder Rosa. I want them to, really do everything that they can with Britt Baker. There is so much possibility there that I don't feel they need to rush it whatsoever. And let's see, this one's from Andrew Cook, who says, it will be very interesting to see where Ruby goes from here. She has clearly established herself at a higher level than most of their women's talent. Right now, I personally think that now her essentially being in these matches with women that are not Britt Baker, that are not in the Britt Baker level, is a huge benefit, because we've been saying this, or I've been saying this a bunch on these shows, is that they really do need more skilled women's workers to be put in matches with women that are not necessarily at that level yet. Because if you want to essentially grow the women's division and you want it to be better and better, the only way for that to get better is for the women to get better. And the only way for them to get better is to work with women that are better than them so that they can get better themselves. So I hope all of that made sense. But I really do think that Ruby Soho is going to be very pivotal in essentially helping the overall talent in the women's division just grow that much more. So I think that's what's next for her. So thank you so much to Andrew for sending that in. And then they can always touch back on, Ruby and Britt Baker. That can always happen down the road. And let's see what else we got here. I'm going to go through a couple more comments, and then we're going to go ahead and do our giveaway here. And all right, we also got people basically rooting for Ty Conti to get the bout. I love Ty Conti. She's so much fun, and people really like her. So good for her. But we'll see when it happens for Ty. When it happens, it'll be a really nice moment. But right now, it's definitely Britt Baker's time. Definitely. And yep, Russell War basically says the same thing I did. Rosa will get her run, but there's no need to rush that. There's definitely no need to rush that. Alrighty, guys, let's do this. All right. So first of all, thank you so much for hanging out with me over an hour here today. We had so much to talk about. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. I want to thank you guys so much for supporting me in through these 100 episodes of Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It's been absolutely phenomenal to even be doing the show, and all of the new people that I have met, and the new and like, it's just, I don't even know what to say. I feel like I'm saying the same things, but I just really need to tell you guys that this really means a lot to me. And this is my favorite thing that has ever happened to me in my life. This show is my favorite thing that has happened to me. So, just thank you guys. All right, so here we go. It is officially time for my 100th episode giveaway. So for those of you guys who do not know, I said this earlier, but I essentially am giving away one $100 Shop AEW gift card. I held this on Twitter. So if you entered on Twitter before the deadline, if you entered after the deadline, unfortunately you're not in, but I give you guys like, I technically waited until like past the deadline and got everybody that I could possibly, I got everybody that got in. There's over 250 names on here. So many people. So here we go, guys. I'm going to go ahead and select somebody, and whoever wins is going to get essentially emailed. So good luck, everybody. If you entered, thank you so much. I do a ton of giveaways on Twitter. This is definitely not going to be the last one. So here we go, guys. Drum roll, please. It's time for the giveaway. Okay, let me sorry for the audio listeners who are just going to get a bunch of like weird bag sounds. All right, I'm going to try to mix it up. And I'm going to close my eyes too, so no one thinks that I'm like cheating or anything. Oh my gosh, this is so nerve-wracking. All right, here we go. There's so many. I don't even know where to grab. All right, I'm just going to grab one. Here we go. I got one. Okay, my eyes are closed. Here we go. The winner is Spinkle Chink. Congratulations. At Spinkle Chink is our winner. Congratulations. Spinkle Chink, I'm going to go ahead and reach out to you on Twitter if you're not on here. But congratulations to Spinkle Chink, who is our winner of the $100 Shop AEW gift card. Before I go, we got another super chat. This one is from Christopher Marino, who says, you rule, Denise. Can't wait to see how much further you go. Congrats on 100. Here's to 1,000. Thank you so much, Christopher Marino. You're very kind. Nashville Lou says gimmicked bag. I should have just put like my name like a bunch over and over. All right, guys, here. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. Again, congrats to the winner for the giveaway. I'm going to go find them right now on Twitter. And then also thank you guys so much to everybody who tuned in. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you. And I will see you this Friday for SmackDown and Rampage. Goodbye, everybody. Take care.